An incredible transformation has begun. And maybe you feel it too, because I think each of us knows this phase, sometimes even really long periods, in which we feel stuck. Or is there something like that for you, for example? A phase of life, an area of life where it may feel rather grey and empty, where there is little or perhaps even no joy in life. I speak of these phases in which we somehow feel trapped and are not quite sure how to move forward. Yes, and maybe you are feeling this way right now, at this very moment, and you are asking yourself, why is this happening to you? And perhaps even, what is this all supposed to tell you? We are now in a completely new era of transformation. It increasingly hits us, and really with a loud bang at our feet, that it is about our freedom. But this freedom is not simply given to us. On the contrary, you really have to strive for your own liberation. And for that, courage, and above all, your determination are required now. I received a very sweet message yesterday from a woman in our community here. She asked me, Linda 2001, I am completely confused. I am feeling increasingly worse. And I wonder, when will these energies that challenge me so much finally have dissolved all my blockages? This question surprised me incredibly. And at first I thought I had misunderstood it. So what? Initially, I answered, of course not. The energies do not dissolve anything for you, but they irritate your blockages, just like our ears are irritated when an instrument is played completely out of tune. Yes, then we can hardly stand it and know that we either have to flee or take the musical instrument into our own hands, tune it, or whatever. And you simply recognize through these distorted frequencies within yourself what needs to be resolved. 2001, what you must resolve yourself, what you must heal yourself, and what you must free yourself from the untruths within you. It was interesting that she found my response very helpful because she had interpreted a lot of information to mean that the energies would dissolve everything for her. And now she can finally stop waiting and start being active. I say this, so I share this example very deliberately because I, Linda 2001, just have the suspicion that there might be one or another person in our community who feels the same way as we keep reading things like how much longer, when will we finally be through, when will this finally stop? And this is really a very individual process because the answer has to do with you. And perhaps you are currently facing the challenge of recognizing your inner boundaries, overcoming them, or pointing them out elsewhere. And I myself have experienced that the freedom of the new era comes at a price. And this lies in the fact that you empower yourself and continuously break free from your old patterns. You may find it just as challenging as this lady from our community or many others do as well. You know, everything that triggers you, irritates you, or makes your life difficult right now is not meant to annoy you, but to highlight traumas, primal wounds, and blockages within you so that you can address them. And I'm completely sure that you will master this task and not only rediscover the desire and joy of life, but it will reach a whole new quality in your life. In just a few weeks, your life will completely change. It simply requires a bit more awareness, honesty, courage, perseverance, and also trust in yourself. I can calmly and confidently tell you this, because I have already walked this path and continue to do so. So, what is holding you back? Surely you have also noticed that the cause of your hesitant patterns is not the world out there, but rather what holds you back is the limit that you set for yourself. And in the transition from the old world to the new, it is now time to no longer live in the shadow of your doubts, your limitations. And that is why the major challenge of the current phase is to overcome your limits and take your life into your own hands. This concerns all of us, whether young or old, rich or poor, whatever. So, my name is Linda 2001 and I warmly welcome you here to this live happy podcast. And I have been a spiritual mentor for over 20 years. I am also the author of the book Consciousness Next Level and the founder of the Being Potential Method. The Being Potential Method is the key to your happiness because you first need to recognize what your being potentials actually are. So speak about your strengths that have been given to you for this life, which truly fit like keys in every lock and open doors that have remained closed until now. If you want to know more about this and perhaps also learn how to activate your potential for being, and thereby clearly address and eliminate the issues within you that are standing in your way, I would like to invite you to our free live show. You can find the link to register for free and participate in the show notes for this podcast. So it's best to sign up right away, and then you'll be part of the next session. You should also bring your biggest problem with you to the show, because with a bit of luck, we might even be able to work on your issues directly. The advantage of this show is that I can hear you, that I can see you, and that I can engage in one-on-one spiritual mentoring and coaching with you. So, the invitation is open, the rest is up to you. The energetic frequency, the current frequency, triggers an inner struggle. Yes, one could say, between the longing for security and the drive for self-determination and freedom within us. And in both lies the essence of freedom itself. We want to feel safe in a world and also feel secure, feel welcomed, so that we can then discover ourselves and unfold. Let us remember, this is the foundation of our incarnation contract, to feel safe, welcomed, and secure in order to unfold. And many of us have now consciously or even unconsciously embarked on the journey of discovery to this memory. Yes, and who are we beyond our limitations and also beyond our unconsciousness? That is the journey. Who are we when we are free from limitations and when we are free from unconsciousness? And what does the world look like then? And anyone who is on this journey can no longer put the spirit back in the bottle. Even if you become aware, time and again, and perhaps even recoil at what the price is for this freedom, the price for this journey, yes, namely, that you have to learn to let go of everything that hinders you, that takes up too much space, so that you can make room for the new world. And that requires courage, quite logically. And here we quickly realize that freedom in the new world does not just mean being able to do and not do what we want. That's one thing, yes, but here a completely different wind is blowing, and it really sweeps us into the deepest corners of our inner alignment. And this wind, yes, it also brings the theme of responsibility to us. Yes, taking responsibility for ourselves, for you and your life, your direction, your decisions, because every decision you make, but also just as much every non-decision you do not make, or you could also say, every step you take for yourself and every step you do not take. All of this has far-reaching consequences. Linda 2001 for you and your life. And these consequences often reach us faster than we believe. In the old times, in the old world, we were still very blessed, as one might see, by a time buffer that stood between inner alignment, decisions, and events. And often we can no longer establish the connections between our behavior and the events. Yes, we can no longer categorize them. The effects of the transition into the new era, into the new world, or indeed also in the new world, are now much more concretely experienced. Yes, we recognize our unhealed states of being, our procrastination, but also our ego, and much more. This has a direct and significant immediate impact on our lives. We can no longer hide, and we can no longer pass on the responsibility. Therefore, no matter what you plan to do, no matter how you want to lead your life, it is now simply necessary to develop trust in your own power. Really, I say this so clearly, your own power, because I don't know. Or rather, I don't know if everyone is carved from this wood, yes, and some wonder why the whole concept of light and love no longer works. Yes, the reason why all these beliefs in light and love no longer work is simply because we no longer have that buffer, that time buffer. Yes. And why is it that when we are on the path to unity and togetherness, it is now about cultivating our power and looking at ourselves instead of saving the world? Yes, it has to do with speed and authenticity. And this power that I speak of is a form of self-empowerment that we can also use for the benefit of all, and that is where it will lead. However, in order to do that, you must first regain your power. You must confront all the issues that you may have avoided or suppressed until now, which have made you feel powerless. And these are old patterns that need to be uncovered. Associated with this are also self-sabotage programs. We must put an end to this, as all of it is keeping you from your power. Self-empowerment power. There are a few intriguing questions you can ask yourself. Are you authentic? Or do you really live as you are? Or are you playing a role? Are you making too many compromises? Where are you not being honest with yourself, or indeed not honest with others? Not honest. Are you being manipulated? And how often do you manipulate others yourself? These are questions you can ask yourself. You can do this quite superficially. But you can also muster the courage to be truly deep and ruthlessly honest. By truly and sincerely confronting these issues, you can recognize what has held you back until now. And these answers are incredibly exciting. These questions give you the opportunity to answer honestly why you do certain things and why you refrain from others, and what it is that truly makes you unhappy. And when you are ready to look there, and also willing to tackle changes, your life will completely transform for the better within just a few weeks. This is also a gift of the current time. Yes, perhaps you realize that you feel powerless in certain situations. Possible. Perhaps you feel that your life is currently confronting you repeatedly with fears, maybe even with dreams or losses. And it can be a sign that you are now also ready to finally recognize the underlying issues, that is, the causes, to heal them and let them go. And it's not about fighting, but about understanding what moves you internally in all directions. I personally had, so I would like to share an example over the past few weeks, really alongside some very strange topics that I kept encountering and had to confront. I somehow felt that I needed to let go of something very specific. I have often talked about in our podcast that we need to let go of something now. However, I couldn't figure out what it is for myself. And I dreamed such completely vague messages. One dream was totally crazy, about 2 trees that were standing in my apartment, and each was woven with a thick spider web. And in that particular spider web lived a really big, fat spider. In the dream, I did not want to kill the spiders, just as I do not in my waking state. I also felt a bit uneasy knowing she was in my apartment, and I realized that the trees would suffocate in those spider webs. So that was how it was in the dream. And the next day in the dream, a colleague from my team appeared and joyfully announced to me, "1,000, Linda. I have put the 2 spiders outside." Totally strange. This is the employee who would be the first to run away if she saw a spider anywhere. Okay. I removed the cobwebs and saw in the dream that both trees had survived. But one of them was really very stunted. And it was obvious in the dream that he wouldn't survive where he was standing. So in my living room, he wouldn't make it. And in the dream, it was also clear that he needed a place where he could regenerate, heal, and above all, where he could have complete peace. I tell you, I spent the entire following week pondering over that dream. I knew there was a fundamental key for me in there that is very important. And now on Friday, it became really clear to me what I should let go of. At first I thought you should let that go. However, the topic is really super simple. It can't actually be that. But then I became increasingly aware of the significance of this decision or this call to action. And I understood that it wasn't really about what I was letting go of. That was just a symbol for something that needs to go, yes. But that the processes triggered by it would initiate a healing journey into a much greater version of my being. That the journey would begin with that. If you're interested in what I will let go of, this is my regular content here. And the emphasis is not on content, but the emphasis is on consistency. This applies to our podcast here, as well as my YouTube Live. This simply means that I will reduce the number of my publications. I have simply realized that I now belong to the content and no longer to myself. The content, yes, it simply brings me great joy, and I just couldn't feel that. My high discipline has driven me without me even noticing. And now I let go of being driven. I didn't see it before. I will naturally share something with you again in the future, but only when there is something to say. And if there is nothing to say, then I will simply remain silent. And I am very grateful to you as a community. And please know that I still do this with joy. Yes, you have supported me all these years and have remained loyal to me. And of course, I also hope that you will continue to do so. But I am fully aware that some will leave. And 2001, that's okay, because I know this, some will turn away. Back in my time, when I was still working in TV, I was incredibly celebrated, yes. But at the moment, I withdrew a bit. I quickly fell into oblivion. It was a very painful experience for me back then, and it might be the same this time. And I understand that there are countless enticing and truly great opportunities to connect with other YouTubers and podcasters here, everyone as they wish. Everything is right. For me personally, it is a completely new experience to leave the protection of discipline like this. That's what I'm actually talking to you about. And to realize that I no longer need it. I have outgrown it. But something inside me is rebelling. But if I were to stay, if I were to remain so strict in my discipline, the truly beautiful power of discipline, which is still one of my strongest qualities, would turn into a struggle. It would shift. Yes, it would then be about followers, about click numbers, and above all, it would turn into a battle against myself. And that is not me. And I couldn't win it at all anyway. Just like I lost it at all many, many years ago. Yes, I held on to that TV career at all costs. Yes, and until I had completely lost myself in it at some point, the realization hit me with full force. One day, how much I was limiting myself, how much I was lying to myself, and how I was endangering my happiness and even my child's happiness, all without being seen. And I had to admit to myself that it really isn't normal to always feel this pressure and stress, and to constantly swallow everything so that the house of cards doesn't collapse. Yes, and it doesn't have to come to that. If you personally feel in your life that something no longer fits, if you sense that your life is exhausting or certain areas of your life, are perhaps dull or outdated, then step out of the struggle to hold on. Yes, when you feel resistance because you are holding on to something that is long outdated, you lose valuable life energy. And not only that, what most people overlook is that we also sacrifice our much more valuable creative energy as a result. Life energy is mega valuable. Creative energy, brother, is even a notch above, right? Whenever we try to maintain the normal state again. And yes, then you have the opportunity to find out which issue is currently active for you. Life gives you signs. Embrace them and grow from them. That is my recommendation for you. You may encounter your existential fears in this process, and that is not uncommon. By the way, that triggered something in me as well. The decision to do one less podcast a week, for example, has sparked existential fears, completely illogical. Yes, these are moments of uncertainty, fear of losing control. 2001, or the feeling of not being able to cope with the challenges. By the way, these are also existential fears. So when we feel like we can't handle it, everything is too much. In addition to the classic financial fears, there are also existential fears. This is how it happened with my decision to reduce the content. And I really had to look closely and deeply and say, man, that makes total sense. It's completely inexplicable. And yet it was there. And I was really able to go very deep to observe how much we, or in this case I, but I will speak in the plural form, unconsciously tie our supposed security and our right to exist to diligence, to performance, and above all, to habit. And instead of truly focusing on our fulfillment, we actually close ourselves off from the creative space of possibilities. We are just functioning. However, existential fears are often just constructs in our minds. They are much larger than they really need to be. Yes, and maybe you should just ask yourself, what is the worst that can happen? So a question that always helps me is, what is the worst that can happen? Because usually solutions for your supposed big worries become clear very quickly. When you are internally ready and recognize the issues, you can let go. And in my opinion, also envision a positive future scenario for 2001 if everything goes well. What if you will be successful with what you are planning and your dreams come true? The more you concentrate or focus on the positive, the less space your inner self has for fear and doubt. Yes, for me, it is completely clear. I will invest my gained time, my gained lifetime, which is precious, into a very loving relationship with myself. I will truly enjoy having more time for myself, but also the constructive work with my clients that truly warms my heart, gives me a deep sense of fulfillment. When I look at our participants and see them truly shining as they report on their successes and their development, growing beyond themselves, and yes, growing into their peace and their freedom, that gives me so incredibly much. I invest my gained energy in further educating myself in certain areas. Yes, that is quite exciting as well. There are topics that I have not yet explored and often did not have the time for. And just the decision to reduce the content now and, yes, to truly give myself the freedom to do it in a way that suits me has led me to implement a long vision that I have had for a long time. And I am also in the process of implementing it. And it inspires me so much to see how this is becoming a reality as soon as I overcome my limitations, because fear is a limitation. And you see, letting go, in my case, of something that might seem rather trivial at first glance, clears the way for fulfillment, for greatness, for peace, for freedom. 2001, how is it for you? I hope that this podcast episode helps you, that it resonates with something inside you, that you can recognize it, and above all, that it helps you understand that you are not alone with these issues. We are all currently at a very fundamental turning point in our lives. Yes, one person is going through a separation. Another is quitting their job or changing jobs. Someone else is moving or wants to move or emigrate. Yes, starting a family or becoming self-employed. Yes, there is so much in motion right now. Some are currently expanding their company, and one or another is making the leap from self-employment to entrepreneurship. It's an incredibly exciting journey. I can really recommend it, but it's also quite intense. Yes. And some may perhaps take the leap to become an investor. Yes. And maybe take a piece out of their company, because the step into the new is not only a courageous step, but also triggers a deep desire to become freer. A step into the unknown is always an opportunity to learn something, and that strengthens our abilities to heal ourselves and to lead ourselves. Every step, truly every step, contributes to shaping your own life. And that is what it is about. Yes, spirituality. Spirituality. The path of spirituality is indeed a path in the worldly as well. Yes, and I would like to quote Marie Curie here. Yes. What one learns, what one understands, one no longer fears. Feel free to share your thoughts in the comments. Where are you right now on your journey? After all, we have embarked on this together, and it definitely makes sense for us to just feel where each individual stands at the moment. Yes, and once again, my invitation. If you would like to participate in our free live show, then check out the link. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel, because if you want to be informed about when there is something to say, then activate the bell, subscribe to the channel, and you will receive a notification whenever there is new content here. Until then, I just want to say that I wish you a truly wonderful journey, both outward and inward. And maybe we'll see each other this Wednesday evening on YouTube Live. That would make me happy too. I sincerely wish you all the best for you. Your sister in spirit, your Linda. 2001.